Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of Pastor JC Live, coming into your world, sharing the message of Jesus Christ with you. I hope you're having a great day. It's beautiful here in Florida, and I know the rest of the country is under severe winter storms, but whew, I'm sweating. I love you guys. I want to just chat with you for a minute about something that Jesus did in John chapter 2. And I want to talk to you about if Jesus can turn water into wine, just think about what he can do with you. There's a story in John chapter 2 of Jesus attending a wedding in Cana of Galilee. And he was just an invited guest. He wasn't any part of the organizational crew or the setup crew or the cleanup crew or the facilitation crew, nothing. He was just a guest that was there with his mom. And at some point during the wedding celebration, the host of the party ran out of wine. Now that was an unforgivable act because in that culture, that was pretty important. You made sure that you had enough of everything for the guests because it was a long, drawn-out party. And so you wanted to make sure that you were well-equipped and you were well-prepared. And so the host of this party is beside themselves, and Mary comes to Jesus, an invited guest. He had no authority at the wedding, really. He was in no position of making decisions for the wedding. And Mary comes to Jesus and says, "Hey, Jesus, they're out of wine. What can you do?" Now, why would Mary come to him with that? Perhaps, as the scripture tells us, when the angel came to her and said, "You're going to give birth and it's going to be the Son of God," she pondered these things in her heart. She knew that Jesus wasn't just an ordinary child. He wasn't just an ordinary man. He was the Son of God. And there were things at his disposal as the Son of God that others didn't have access to. Perhaps she knew, after having pondered all these things in her heart, she knew that God was a miracle worker, and if Jesus was the Son of God, he could perform a miracle. And Jesus looked at her when she mentioned it to him, and he said, "Woman, what does this have to do with me?" In other words, I have no responsibility here. This is not my problem to solve. Why are you coming to me with this? And the scripture says, but Jesus spoke to the servants that were there, and he said to them, "Go fill up vats and barrels and vessels with water and bring them to me." Now, can you just imagine the murmuring between those servants as they're obeying the word of Jesus? Perhaps they were saying things like, what does he think he's going to do with this water? Water can't be made into wine. Water doesn't ferment the longer that it sits. Water is not going to be acceptable to these people at this party. They're wanting wine. They're wanting to drink. They're wanting to have a good time. And how does he think he's going to present this water to them in a way that it's going to make them feel celebratory? And yet they filled the vessels, and they brought the vessels to Jesus. And you know how the story goes. Jesus turned that water into wine, and not just any old everyday ordinary wine. The master of the ceremonies, the ruler, said to him, "Why have you saved the best for last? Why did you save the best wine, the best available wine for last?" Because most times the host would put out the best wine first, and then after everyone had drank for a while and were feeling the effects of it, then they bring out the cheap stuff just to finish everybody off. They'd bring out the inexpensive stuff, the stuff that nobody really wanted or liked. But once everybody got a little bit of a buzz, you might say, then they would bring out the cheaper stuff. But the ruler spoke to the master of the ceremonies, and he said, why did you save the very best wine for last? You see, one thing I've learned about Jesus is when he does transformation, whether it's water to wine or whether it's sinner to saint, he does it all the way. He transforms completely and wholly. Another thing I've learned about Jesus is that you can take the smallest, most insignificant, common thing in your life and put it in the hands of Jesus, and he can do a miracle. He can do an absolute miracle. I mean, what about the little boy who brought the loaves of bread and the fish, and Jesus took that common lunch that he brought to him, and he blessed it and he broke it and he distributed it to over 5,000 men and women and children. You see, that's the thing about Jesus. He always blesses. He always performs miracles. We simply have to trust and believe. So my question to you today is, no matter where you feel like you are in your life, no matter how insignificant you may feel or how common you may feel, you may think you have nothing that makes you special. You may feel like common, ordinary water that's just sitting there. It's not fermenting. It's not stagnating. It's just sitting there. And yet when you put your life in the hands of Jesus, he will make you the best you ever. And people will look at you and say, why did you save the best of who you are for the last? And you could say, Jesus just turned the water of me into wine. That's all he did. So give your life to Jesus. Put your life in the hands of Jesus and let him transform you, just like he did the water into wine. I love you today. And I promise you, if Jesus can turn water into wine, he can do something powerful and significant with your life. Take care of yourselves. God bless.